Hey everyone, congratulations. You're under contract on your new house. We're excited for you, and we're also going to be making this video really quick to give you some good information from this point to the closing table so that you're well informed and we can bring you some extra value and you don't feel confused or left in the dark. Now, please note that this video isn't a one-size-fits-all. It's not going to cover every nook and cranny of the deal, and especially because they can be so different and unique. If you feel like you're in that position, just reach out to either me or one of your agents, and we'll be sure to guide you in this process moving forward. So we're just going to jump right into it. The first thing that needs to happen as a buyer is we need to make sure that the earnest money is deposited with the right amount to the right person within the right amount of time. Your agent should be able to help you out with this. It can be on a personal check, cashier's check. We can even wire. The most common form that we see most of the time is where it's just a personal check. You can put the subject address, or I'm sorry, you can put the address in the subject line, the earnest money amount, and then who it goes out to. If you're dropping earnest money with a brokerage, you can typically just put the brokerage's name on there, but please verify that with your agent before you cut the check and hand it off to them. So that money will be placed inside of an escrow account that sits there for the duration of the period. Your earnest money is always applied to your down payment. So if you have a down payment of 20%, you put down $5,000 for earnest money, that $5,000 is going to be applied to your 20% down payment. And again, just depends on what kind of loan product that you've chosen. And that's kind of the gist of earnest money. And it needs to be dropped within a certain period of time. On the purchase and sale agreement that we've gone under contract with, it should have, either 2, 3, maybe 4 days from the binding agreement date that you're responsible for making sure that that earnest money is dropped. So that's earnest money. If you have any questions, just let us know. Going into number 2, the inspection. Depending on the amount of days that we just negotiated for due diligence, in the buyer's favor, it's the more time that you have in due diligence, the more it favors you as a buyer. You have more time to decide and go through things. You're not rushed as much. But we see 7 to 10 days on a regular basis for the due diligence period, and this is the period of time that you're allotted to come in and have inspections and a litany of any other tests that you want done on the property moving forward. Please know that Georgia is a buyer beware state. That means that the responsibility of doing your due diligence is solely on your shoulders. So if you expect that, let's say we have the inspection and some stuff comes up on the roof or the HVAC, it's probably a good idea to have a specialized contractor come in and troubleshoot, or at least get some quotes on the problems, then move forward. I would recommend scheduling the inspection as quickly as possible. I would recommend being at the inspection for the duration of the period. If you can't make it for the entire time, they typically last 2 to 3 hours. I would at least recommend showing up for the last hour or 30 minutes so that the inspector can meet with you and maybe walk you back through some of the bigger issues that they may or may not have found. And again, this just depends on what kind of house that we're inspecting and what shows up. And we never know until it actually happens. So that's kind of, that's the inspection moving forward. Again, get in there as quick as you can, and that's the best thing that you could do from there. Number 3 is we're going to be negotiating after we get the inspection report coming back in. And it really just depends on a lot of different variables, how aggressive we want to be or how docile we want to be with negotiating. If there's multiple offers and this was a bidding war, we probably don't have as much leverage as a property that was on the market for maybe a whole year with no offers at all. And it depends on what's found. And so there's no right or wrong way to go about it. It's preference mixed with good information so that you can make an educated decision. But remember, during any time during due diligence, you can break contract and get your earnest money back. After due diligence, earnest money goes hard, and you are left with 2 other contingencies. We'll talk about that here in a second. A good way to get in for negotiation a lot of the time, let's say we get the inspection report back in, we can always, again, have some specialized contractors come in and either give quotes based off of the inspection, or they can come into the property and give some numbers from there, and then we can negotiate. Other types of tests that might be included inside of an inspection. If you're buying a house with a basement, even on a slab too, or a crawl space, even though it might not be as necessary as a home with a basement, it's called a radon test. And those are essentially tests that are done to detect certain levels of radon gas. Radon gas is a carcinogenic gas that is the second leading cause of lung cancer. Obviously, we don't want to be living in a house where there are elevated levels of radon. The EPA has a certain threshold. If it's over that, it's considered unsafe. And so these machines, I think they're like $100 to $200. They're left in the basement for a 24 or 48 hour period, and it takes samples of the air and gives us a result afterwards where it sits on that threshold. The good news is radon mitigation is relatively affordable. The seller almost always takes care of it, because if they don't take care of it on this deal, they'll have to take care of it on the next one. Ethically and legally, they need to disclose it on the next deal if they now have knowledge that it exists. So this is just an example of some other tests that could take place from under contract during the due diligence period moving forward. Knowing your contingencies, let's talk about the two other ones. There's the financial contingency. So you're protected from the moment that the binding agreement starts for a period of time that we negotiated on the financial contingency. What that does is it protects you from losing your earnest money in case you cannot get qualified or approved for a loan. The lender or the loan officer will have to provide what's called a denial letter for very specific reasons. It can't be because you were, too slow on getting all your documents in that they were asking for. It's only because you couldn't get approved as it stands with your current financial picture. And then the third contingency that we normally see on a deal is called the appraisal contingency. That one also starts from the moment that the binding contract is signed moving forward, and it protects you in case that the appraisal comes in low and the sellers aren't willing to reduce down to that value. So the example I like to use is, let's say we go under contract for $250,000. The appraisal comes in light at $235,000. It's a $15,000 difference. Well, that means now there's $15,000 of money that is not going to be financed by the bank, that is outside of the contractual agreement of the purchase and sale agreement. So the sellers aren't obligated to sell it at $235,000, but you're also not obligated to buy it at $235,000 either. 9 times out of 10, the seller winds up reducing the entire amount or close to it moving forward. They're in a weakened position. You would actually be in a better position at that point. And it means that you might actually get a better deal on the house, or you're just buying the house at what the appraised value is. Remember, appraisals are they're done professionally, but it's one person's opinion on the trajectory of the market and comps. They do have different guidelines with different loan products that go through, but in our experience, we've seen that not all appraisers or appraisals are accurate reflections of what the market is actually dictating the property would be worth. And then last but not least, we're going to be doing a walkthrough either the day of closing or the day prior. What that means is let's say we've gone through due diligence, we've negotiated, we've gone through the appraisal, everything's good, we're set to close. We're going to be doing a walkthrough on the property and make sure that the property is in the same condition as it was when you went into it under contract. Or let's say we negotiated some repairs. We're going to go back and make sure that everything is taken care of properly. It's really just a final check to make sure that that house is in good condition or acceptable condition prior to closing on the property. And then, last but not least is also your utilities. Don't forget to turn your utilities on the new property. I would try for the day of. I always try to advise my sellers to give the buyers some grace and give them a day extra after closing to give them some time to get in and turn your utilities on. It's not fun moving into a property with no electricity or water or anything like that too. So hope this video has been helpful. We're just trying to give you as much value as you can. And again, if you feel like there are some questions or concerns that are outside of this video, please give us a call, shoot us a text. We'll be glad to help you out. And congratulations again.